Hello. Hello. I meant to start with that one.
Dave and Chad, I wonder if you could take us back to the beginning of this project. Were you all lifelong fans of Oscar and Big Bird, or was this a project that came about from an interest in exploring the Sesame Street world?
No, it's actually a project that started with an internship. Of course, Chad and I grew up on Sesame, and we're always big fans of the show. And then as we decided to sort of follow our paths into the industry, I wanted to go to work at Sesame because it's such an amazing place to be. And I had this internship in their home video department. It wasn't anywhere close to the production or to the set. And several years later, I was telling a friend about it, and she said that she happened to know Caroll Spinney, and I didn't know anything about Caroll or who he was, and she explained that he was Big Bird and Oscar since 1969, and Chad and I had been working at a doc at that time, and we said this should really be our next film, and thankfully Caroll said yes.
Chad, your involvement with Sesame?
I just grew up watching it, loving it, and what was kind of funny is that I didn't realize how much of an impact it had on me until we were making this movie. Because going through all the archival footage and the behind-the-scenes stuff, you would watch a little segment, in your research, and all of a sudden, brought back like that to, being 6 years old, with your mom watching the show, and it was just really powerful. So I had forgotten how much it meant to me until we made this movie.
Caroll, could you take us back to the moment where Chad and Dave came up to you? What was your thought when they had approached you?
Well, they contacted Sesame Street through Ellen Lewis, and I should know her. She's a good friend, but anyway, she said that there was some young fellows who have a new film company that would like to do a film about you. And I said, really, me? I didn't think it would be worth making a movie of me. But I said, well, sure, we'll come down and talk to them. And we talked to them. We were impressed with them. And they certainly sounded like they knew what they were doing. They lent us a film that they produced already. It was terrific. And that was Brownstones and Red Dirt. And so we chatted with them a while, and I thought that if anybody does it, they certainly would convince us they're sensitive guys. They do a good job. And I'm just amazed at what they created. But I think we had a huge amount of archives, though, didn't we?
Yeah, in that meeting, Deb was also there, and she kind of dropped the bomb that, I'm not a professional, she said, but I've pretty much recorded everything we've ever done. And so Dave and I were like, all right, it's going to be amazing. And also in that meeting, I don't know if you remember, but we were talking about gluten allergies.
Oh, yes.
And all of a sudden you pulled out Oscar, and Oscar went, boring. And I was like, totally surreal.
When you met Caroll, did you have any idea of the backstory of what you were about to explore?
No, we had read some articles about Caroll, some profiles and things like that, but all we really knew was that when he first moved to New York, he didn't like it. At the time, I think you were 76. We're like, oh, God, 76, he's definitely going to retire. So this film is going to be about probably his last year, and that's what it was. This film was going to be about the last year of an American icon. And then, the first thing he said in that meeting was, yeah, I'm not going to retire. I want to do this for, 50 years. So we're like, all right, let's figure out what this film is going to be about.
Luckily, then Deb dropped the bomb. I've videotaped everything we've ever done. We were like, okay, that's going to be pretty great.
And you're also witnessing something rare, which is Caroll and Deb are not usually this far apart physically. It was very obvious that it was going to be a love story, and so that was something that we knew right away. And then, obviously, like Chad's reference, once that footage came to our doorstep, we had the material to make that film about the two of them and their love.
Well, let's talk about that footage. How many hours did Deb shoot?
It was probably over 500 hours of stuff and you have way more than that too. That was just the stuff you dropped off. But what was kind of funny is it started out on film, so you had these very succinct clips, and Follow That Bird, right, was all film and everything was a golden nugget. And then VHS hit, and then it would be 4 hours of driving through New Zealand, you know. But we would always watch every minute of it, because then you never knew when it was going to cut, and there would be these little gems of, like, when we use it in the film, of Caroll running and falling down a hill and rolling kind of goofy, and Deb, you laughing, and it's so sweet, you know. So yeah, it was probably like 500 hours, and we went
And
through
you watched every.
Yeah.
And transcribed it.
and transcribed it.
That's probably why it took 4.5 years.
Yeah. Well, at the
Se- 4.5 years, really.
yeah, at the end there was a stack of 5 tapes sitting on our edit, just like staring at us, like, you have to go through us, and we were like, we're not going to. We've done enough. But we end up going through them, and like Big Bird in the limousine that's in the movie, some of the symphony stuff, that was all from the very last tape that we went through.
Caroll, did you share in their exploration of your past? or-
No, I don't even know what town they live in. I know that Dave LaMattina lives in this town, with his parents too. And,
Not with my parents, let me just clarify. I don't live with
but
my
they
parents.
don't live. No, they don't live in the same
Like
place.
you had said, though, watching the movie, you two are seeing stuff that you had forgotten you even shot and saw, right?
Yeah, well, many times we've come back from a trip, and we never get around to watching the movie. So much of the film we'd never seen. So it was kind of fun for us to watch the movie, as well as kind of strange to see yourself up on the screen, because I've made, about 60 years ago, I had my first TV show, which was in Vegas. It paid all of $10 a week. And I would have done it for free, because in 1955, television was only about 7 or 8 years old. And so I was thrilled. I was 21, and the fact that I could get into television. I didn't even have a monitor. I couldn't see what I was doing. It must have been just terrible. But at least it got me the $10 a week, which was a lot more better money than you'd think. In today's money, it would barely buy you a magazine and a candy bar. But back then, I think $10 would be equivalent of more like $40. So between the TV show and illustrating, I'm an illustrator, you saw all those pictures are mine, except for the animation that was done, but the friends are theirs.
One of just real quick, the thing about his archival footage, it's really fascinating for a room full of creative people. It wasn't just like they would be like, oh, there's Deb and she's walking on the beach or whatever. They would shoot like coverage and cutaways. So they would set the camera up on a tripod, and the two of them would then get in the car, drive off of the distance past the horizon, and then they'd cut, come back, pick up the camera. And so it's like,
It
we
was
had all
always
this
still
stuff to
there.
work with. It was really a godsend for us.
So they were waiting.
It
They
seemed
were
that
wait-
way. Yeah.
But you never could have imagined that these 8mm movies, which my friend Fabulous Folger and I, he had a Vespa and I had a Lambretta, which was a little fancier version of the Vespa. We drove from central Germany all the way to Rome, and but I had an 8mm Bell and Howell, which I had bought when I was 20, for my federal refund, and I always wanted to get into movies. And so I started making my own. They weren't very good, I suppose, but I never thought any of them would be up on the big screen. And a very sharp focus, you notice. Of course, the negative on 8mm is just over a 1/4 inch wide. So when you blow that up on a 60-foot screen, it's quite a soft image. But it seemed pretty good for archival stuff.
great.
You know. Yeah.
I would love the tricks you would do. You'd stand in front of a statue, and then you would cut, and then you'd be gone, and the statue would be there. There were a lot of those kind of fun tricks you would
Yeah.
mess around with.
I bought the little Kodak book, Tricks You Can Do With Your Movie Camera.
I think we should bring in our special guest tonight, which is, I believe, the second iteration of one of Caroll's great creations. What was it like when you first encountered this creation? Did you feel like this was the id to Big Bird, or an essential component, the dark side?
Don't be nasty, Oscar. I didn't really know Oscar until I started playing him, because he didn't exist before this. It was an idea that Jim Henson got from a restaurant over on the east on 3rd Avenue called Oscar's. It was a seafood restaurant, and Oscar pops up a lot around here. I think the word. So and there was a very irritable. Jim said, "There's a waiter that I want you to meet. He's very grouchy, and And that's where I got the idea that I should make a Grouch, because some Grouches can be quite humorous. And he was not, he was actually probably a fairly pleasant Grouch. I think Grouches enjoy being grouchy. I know I do. So I knew one. Oh, it was called my father. And he was, although it was complicated, because he would, like my older brother Donald, Donald was mostly awful to me, but once in a while he'd be nice and I'd be grateful. So therefore I loved him all over again. And so.
Didn't your dad, he would go around supermarkets, right, and hand out?
Oh yeah, it's funny. He lived to be almost 91, and when he and my mom lived, she died just exactly 30 days after he did, and I found a little note she had written, "Dear Beth," I couldn't know who Beth was, so I didn't send it to her. "My dearest darling has died, and now I'm going to go join him. Goodbye, Peg." My mom was Margaret, and she had to be called Peg. So I PR department, which is headed now by Ellen, who helped get this film going. She gave a big stack of colored postcards of Big Bird to me, so I gave a stack to my father, had pre-signed them Big Bird. So he would take them to the supermarket, and he would see a little tot riding in a food cart, he could put their little feet through. And he'd go over and say, "We're Big Bird's mommy and daddy." And here they were, almost 90, and they're humans. And they'd say, so the kid would look confused, but quite delighted to have this colorful card handed to them with their friend Big Bird on it. And so he finally he said, "I need some more." I've handed them out, all of them out. But that was one of his greatest old age things he did, because he wasn't too active. I'm now 81 and heading that direction, but I hope to stay a little more active than he did.
Thank you. And thank you, Oscar.
Yeah, I'd never thank a Grouch, and I was bored the whole time. Were you really? Oh, yeah. But,
Thank you.
I have one thing I'd like to say to you, very fine people. Have a rotten day.